Hey guys, Nick here, and welcome to the Omniverse of Nick and part 2 slash the finale to What If Doc Ock Survived, the No Way Home edition. Just like the remake to What If Sandman Didn't Join Venom, two-parters. So, with all that said, let's get into it. Now, before we do fully get into it in the finale, which won't be as long as you might think, but still pretty freaking epic, be sure to support and acknowledge the future of this channel by smashing the like button, subscribing to the Omniverse of Nick, and checking out the Discord, Patreon, and Google Doc on the homepage or the channel bio to support and help out the future of this channel. With all that said, let's get into it. So, like I said, we're getting into the No Way Home edition, but it's going to go a lot differently than you might think because of Doc Ock and Harry surviving. So, let's get into the first major thing. Doc Ock is not the first villain that Tom Holland's Spider-Man meets. As a matter of fact, he's nowhere at all. And Green Goblin takes his place. So, what this means is they actually end up fighting before the apartment. So, it's not just a cameo at the beginning and then later a fight. It's actually a fight right at the start and would honestly almost go the exact same way, except no vibranium because of Doc Ock, and it would just be a brutal encounter with much of the same reactions that Doc Ock did, except different because there's no machine and stuff like that, you know? So, still be a really freaking epic opening, even if it wasn't Doc Ock entering as the first villain. Then we get to Norman getting captured and Peter getting pulled back, and it being revealed that Doctor Strange captured and fought Lizard. Hey, I didn't call him Chameleon that time. Always get them confused. Anyways, this means that Norman is captured and snapped out of the Goblin persona much sooner and rids himself of the Goblin persona when he's in the cage there. And it's a much different outlook, considering that he is not, he doesn't know what's going on. And it's honestly a much different look at the beginning of No Way Home, centering around Green Goblin. Now, I bet you're wondering, where the frick is Doc Ock? Well, my friends, we get to it right now. Once Electro makes himself known, this is where Sandman would jump in. But because Doc Ock left with Sandman, this is where he would make his appearance. With the both of them and Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Electro stands absolutely no chance. And honestly, it would kind of be an overpowered three-way tag team against Electro. And he would get captured much simpler. Now, but you're wondering, does Doc Ock and Sandman still get captured? Well, no. The only ones that are captured at the moment are Goblin or Norman Osborn, Electro, and Lizard. But Sandman and Doc Ock remain outside of their cells. Why is this? And how would Doctor Strange allow this? I think that Tom Holland's Spider-Man would produce enough of a word and Sandman and Doc Ock would explain their sides of the story that, especially since Doc Ock never died, this means that their stories and the way they're connected in this part of the universe is way different. So, it would make sense that they would most likely not get put into the cages. So there's even debate whether or not that Spider-Man's even going to cure them. But, Marco still wants to get home, and Doc Ock's like the only one who's really cured. He has no need to be cured because he controls the arms. Because remember, he better trained them. But there's no time to think about anything because Doctor Strange just wants to set them all back and reset his spell. But, of course, we all know Tom Holland's Spider-Man's not going to allow this, and he wants to help out the villains who actually do need cured and who will die against Spider-Man. And Marco wants to get home, so he wants to help everybody. So it's a much different look at the fight, but of course we know that Tom Holland's Spider-Man beats Doctor Strange. Who would have ever seen that one coming? But this is a what if, so we gotta stick to the formula. He beats Doctor Strange and gets the spell and sets it away. The whole thing. And once we get to the apartment, as I said, Doc Ock does not need cured. So, that's one less villain to worry about. So, what does this mean? Well, it means that Electro is cured in the place of Doc Ock. So this means that we don't have to wait until the final battle for him to get cured with the help of Doc Ock. Well, I think Doc Ock would actually be helping here, so honestly, it's just what happened at the building with the 3 Spider-Man, except way sooner, and much different circumstances. So, point being, Electro is cured. Then, of course, the Green Goblin snaps into his Goblin persona, and Tom Holland's Spider-Man has to fight him off. Except, Goblin, I feel, might still have his Goblin suit, because, again, he was the first battle. So, he wouldn't have crashed his helmet or anything like that. He still would have gotten rid of the Goblin persona. But I still feel that part of him would have taken along the suit and had just hidden it and then snapped back or something. I just feel that because of what has happened at the beginning of this segment, he would still have the Goblin suit. So we're not getting the hooded Goblin, Meanwhile, Sandman watches Electro, or Max now, to make sure that he's not going to do anything. And Sandman's not going to retaliate here, because the two of them teamed together and Electro teleported in the sand and everything. But since Doc Ock doesn't need cured, and they're friends, Sandman and Doc Ock, and Electro has been cured earlier, Sandman would have less of a reason to start, teaming up with all the other villains and fighting and everything. So he's just watching to make sure that Max doesn't try and fight, even though he doesn't have electric powers anymore. So what happens now? Well, with a combination of Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Doc Ock teaming up, which would be really freaking epic, Green Goblin is no match for them. He was a match for Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the apartment. Oh yes, most definitely. And then Tom Holland's Spider-Man had the advantage with the environment at the end of the movie and almost killed him. That's beside the point. The point is, him teaming up with Doc Ock means that, number one, the apartment does literally almost not get destroyed whatsoever. And number two, the villains who aren't cured don't escape, that being Lizard and Green Goblin here. Number three, Aunt May doesn't die, especially. So Tom doesn't have that loss on his shoulders. And because of this, Green Goblin is cured in the apartment with a combination of help from Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Doc Ock, and Sandman put together. So, yeah, Green Goblin stood no chance. And it makes it worse because he was the first battle and not Doc Ock. And since Electro was cured, that takes away a lot. A lot. So, This means the Doc Ock's already cured, and Electro and Green Goblin are now cured. So, with Aunt May alive and all this happening before Toby and Andrew even show up, I bet you're wondering what happens now. Well, there's still one villain that hasn't been cured. Lizard. And something happens. Lizard escapes, but then he sees something. It looks like some kind of black goo. And he goes towards it, seeing this maybe like a mutated lizard that maybe he could see in this universe and recreate the lizard formula. But it's the Venom symbiote from Toby's world because of much different circumstances with Doc Ock and the fact that it very well couldn't have died because of everything that happened, especially with much different circumstances and Eddie Brock not being there and everything. So what does this mean? We get Lizard with the Venom symbiote. And there was actually a picture for this, unlike the Doc Ock one, which I had to AI generate a few of those, for those of you who didn't see the first part. So, we now have a Venomized Lizard on the loose. So, what happens now? Well, Andrew's Spider-Man, along with Toby's, and Harry make their entrance. And with Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Doc Ock all teaming up, and yes, I forgot to include Sandman in this picture, so just ignore the fact that he's not there. With all of them teaming up, Lizard Venom stands absolutely no chance. Yes, it is a pretty freaking significant upgrade for Lizard, and it does throw Andrew's Spider-Man and kind of everybody else off, especially with Toby knowing about the Venom symbiote and everything, and Harry knowing about it. But still, this means that Lizard, I feel maybe Dr. Connors would still get cured, and then the Venom symbiote would just die again. Either that, or they would be literally forced to kill Dr. Connors. So, honestly, with the Venom symbiote, I feel like they would maybe have to kill him. It especially with 6 of them teaming up against Lizard Venom. Think about that for a second. And honestly, I don't think that Tom's Spider-Man would ask for everyone's memory to be erased. So, honestly, this would be an overpowered and honestly really better iteration of the No Way Home movie. And that's where we kind of end things. So initially, I was planning on doing more with the No Way Home rendition, although plenty was done here. I planned on adding more to the finale. Then I realized something, and I'm just going to spoil my initial plans. So, because of Doc Ock and everything that happened, which I'll explain more on here in a second, this means that by the time we would get to the only one that would have to be cured, which is Lizard, even if I brought back Venom from Toby's world, it wouldn't have meant jack. Because even Lizard Venom, or Venom, Lizard, whatever you want to call him, hey, I didn't call him Chameleon that time, he would stand absolutely no chance against 3 Spider-Men, Doc Ock, and Harry to boot. And with everyone else cured, this would make the end of No Way Home almost too perfect while being really, really epic. So, while I see the fact that I could have done what I initially wanted to, and maybe, like, whenever Venom comes back in this world, that, like, the Venom and Tom Hardy's Venom, who was in the MCU, mind you, before he got pulled out because of the spell, this means that, really, even if I did make that happen, the group, that Venom, would not side with Lizard or that Venom. So even if I did something like that, it would have still made the group very overpowered. So what's the lesson to be learned from this story? Well, if Doc Ock had survived, not only would he have been able to grow as a character past one movie and then his return, but he would have been given a character role that would have made him Spider-Man's top-tier villain and person. And that's why he's my favorite character. And to see no one tackle the likes of Doc Ock with the Venom symbiote is just disgraceful. Whenever you had Lizard and so many others, yet not Doc Ock. I had to go through 10 different sites just to generate 5 picks, and I only showed you guys 3 to 4 of them. One was just not right. And I could have used that again here, but Venom, Doc Ock, and the likes of Lizard would still have got trounced by the group. And it already happened in Spider-Man 3 of this timeline. So it would have just been reused plot, and Doc Ock powering through the AI device, learning how to control the arms himself without having to be cured, honestly makes for a really good character role. And yeah, I could have used the Venom symbiote and made him turn all over again, but then it would literally have been the exact same thing. And I don't want to take too much out of No Way Home and repeat myself. So I pretty much just left it as is and worked with what I had. So overall, hope you guys enjoyed Doc Ock surviving. My pretty much favorite Spider-Man villain outside of Sandman. And giving Doc Ock a chance to shine, making my own Venom symbiote pictures for him. And honestly, I wish I could have done a little tiny bit more, but overall, I say this story definitely rocked out as one of the best Marvel ones so far. So, next story up is just going to be a simple analysis video of what if Shane Walsh was in Saw. So I'll basically be splitting it into 2 categories. One will be who he would replace as the best cop in the franchise to fight Jigsaw, and how he would fare against him. And number 2, how he would fare if he was Jigsaw's accomplice. With all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed Doc Ock surviving. Stay tuned for the simple analysis of Shane Walsh in Saw as we near completion on this next little batch here before we get into even more epic batches that I've begun to show off for 2025's beginning. And with all that said, I'll see you guys later.